Hello, good night. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharp. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. Go ahead and put your questions in the comments now so that I can answer your questions. Hi there on Instagram. It's so nice to see you. Come on in and let's talk. Let's catch up. Hello on TikTok. Nice to see you. YouTube, Facebook. Nice to see you tonight. All right. So there's a lot going on in immigration. The latest, and of course, most of us have seen what happened over the weekend. The tragedy that happened and the fallout based on that, as well as the violence that happened earlier this month. So things are ramping up, things are escalating. There's a lot of there are a lot of violations, constitutional violations of immigrants and U.S. citizens and permanent residents, basically everybody. And the way to fight that, the way to counter that is, of course, to go to court. So federal court is a major focus right now. And even we, as the firm here, we found ourselves in federal court as well, because overall, the fight for immigrants is escalating, and we have to look at different strategies and solutions, especially where our clients don't have recourse in the usual manner. We're seeing that more and more, especially in cases where I represent clients who are detained and we have to be seeking their release. And sometimes that means we have to escalate the fight in federal court rather than in immigration court. So the fight continues, but we're keeping up the good fight and we are looking at solutions. If you've been following me, you know how it is, you know what I do, and I am positive and I look at solutions, always take action. And so we have been doing that and we've seen successes as well, great successes. We've gotten T visa. We continue to get T visa approvals. We continue to get a, adjustment of status interview approval. So we just got one on the 14th of this month, just got one. So I went ahead and attended my client's interview. My client was approved on the spot. So contrary to what you've been hearing, people are still being approved. We got 3 in the past month. We've gotten 3 adjustment of status approvals at the interviews. And these all involved clients who had a history of overstaying. So, the circumstances are different, but not everyone is being detained at interviews or being detained somewhere along the process. It just depends, though. And this is where I am saying this with my whole chest. Make sure you have an attorney in your process, because in your case, you may believe that it's really simple. But because they are really digging into these applications and looking at every single thing, sometimes officers look at things so closely, they basically construe certain facts or lack of facts in your application as something bigger than it really is. So you want to make sure that you understand the risk, that you understand what's to come or what may come, so that you can properly prepare for that. For example, in adjustment of status application, so previous to this, it was not necessarily a huge concern if you overstayed and then you were going through adjustment of status, you were the immediate relative of a U.S. citizen. So that means you may have been the spouse of a U.S. citizen, or you are the family member of a U.S. citizen that qualifies for adjustment of status as the immediate relative of a U.S. citizen. So that means usually under the law, you get forgiveness for an overstay and working without a permit. And that is still the case, right? That is how my clients have been approved, is that they get a pass. However, where things can get more complicated is where the officer now is now looking at the circumstances surrounding the overstay. So even if you overstayed a couple years back, they want to now know, why did you overstay? They're going to ask. And even in this interview where we got it approved on the spot, the officer I did coach my client on these to make sure my client understood that these questions would be coming, because that's the focus. They're focusing on fraud. And so I was able to prepare my client for the questions so that they understood why those questions were coming, and they could answer the questions without, being shocked or intimidated. But the officers are going to now start asking questions about, why did you enter, when you came into the country and you overstayed, what were the circumstances surrounding your overstay? Or what were the circumstances surrounding you working without a permit? And a part of that is they can then construe it as fraud. For example, if you entered the United States and you ended up overstaying, but shortly after you overstayed, it showed that you were working without a permit, that then they can say is, you came in with a visa, and you came in with a visitor's visa with the intention of working, and they can consider that fraud. Now, what do you do in a situation like that? So when when I work with my clients, we look at plan Bs, right? If the risk of being accused of fraud is very high, then the next thing is there are waivers to get it forgiven, right? And going into the interview, knowing that that may be an issue, it's also to be proactive by filing the proper waivers, so that at the interview, the officer is not just accusing you of fraud, but the officer is also then able to see the waiver there, and they're able to make a decision on the waiver to provide you the ability to get it forgiven. So that's just an example of how, situations that were simple before and weren't it wasn't really scrutinized that closely, these are it's now being scrutinized so closely that they're looking at these circumstances. So are ITINs still being issued? Yes. So we do get the ITINs for our clients, and they are still being issued. So, just keep that in mind, that seemingly simple cases are not as simple. And sometimes it is what will make the difference is having the right attorney to make sure that the risk is mitigated, you're prepared, you understand what's coming, you're not going into an interview blindly or being blindsided by any kinds of issues that do come up, that you're fully prepared, and that you do have plan B, you have a plan B, like a waiver in mind. Now, one thing is that I want to raise before I answer questions. I'm going to jump into questions soon, but one thing I did want to also say is we have 75 citizens of 75 countries that are now banned from getting the immigrant visa. Now, this does not include people who are coming in on a temporary visa. This does not include people who are coming on temporary work visas. This immigrant visa is for the green card, for people who are applying from outside of the United States to get their green card. So essentially, they're temporarily banned. We don't know, it's temporary. I don't know how long this temporary is going to be, but they've basically temporarily banned individual citizens of 75 countries, including Jamaica, from getting this immigrant visa. So what I do want to make very clear is this is the time to start thinking about, if you want to stay unified with your family, If you are here in the US, maybe it's time to explore whether you qualify to do adjustment of status so that you can stay with your family during the period where you're applying for the green card. So basically, stay in the US to get the green card through adjustment of status. That is different, and you're not barred under the new announcement, the new restrictions. So adjustment of status is still moving forward. So just want you to know about that. Think about that. Talk to us first if you're here in the US. Talk to us so that we can determine the best strategy to move forward for you, so that you can stay with your families, stay in the United States to obtain permanent residence. All right. So now that I have, said my piece, I'm going to go ahead and answer questions. So put your questions in the comments. I'm going to, what's a Form I-290B? It's basically the form to appeal denial. So if you've been denied, then the I-290B is the appeal. Usually you have 30 days to appeal. So it's really an emergency at that point. You want to make sure that you get on that to meet the deadline. Do you anyone who has, I think, do you know anyone who hasn't been through an interview process and just got an approval letter and then shortly after the green card in the mail? So our VAWA clients, they still are obtaining permanent residence. Many of them are getting the green card without an interview. As they tighten up on vetting, we may see less and less of that, but it is still happening, but not with certain cases. For example, marriage-based cases, extremely rare that that would happen. How long does it take to get I'm thinking I-485 and I-765 authorization permit after your biometrics? So I usually measure it, and here's one pattern that I'm noticing is that, and this is a good thing, I think. But here's where we work really hard. Once our clients are called in for an interview, we make sure that they're prepared as solidly for that interview. But what the pattern I'm seeing is that our clients are getting interviews very quickly. So I would say within 3 months of filing adjustment of status, we're getting interviews. And then we make sure that when we go into those interviews, we are prepared, we are ready. So our clients, as I said before, in the past even month, December through January, we've received approvals at the interview because our clients were so prepared going in. So that's the upside, right? Is that our clients are getting the interview date very quickly. But what's happening is they're getting the interview very quickly, even before they can get the work permit. But who's going to complain when you can get the green card before the work permit? I'll take the green card over the work permit any day. So it works out. What I would say is some people will say, I got the interview, within 2 months. Is that a red flag? I would say turn it into a green flag, right? If they're calling you in for an interview early, it means you have an opportunity to go in there and make sure that you show the officer that you have a solid case in order to get their approval. So that's my recommendation. It doesn't have to be a red flag. It can be a green flag for you. All right. So now back to the timeline. How long does it take to get the work permit after the biometrics? So with marriage-based cases, family-based, I would say it takes about 3 to 6 months after filing. I don't usually count after biometrics because it's so all over the place. How much for the consultation? So consultation is so you can 150, it starts at 150. So you can always go to the link in the profile. We have an initial evaluation that we do, and the initial evaluation helps us to determine and helps you to determine whether we can help you with something that you qualify for. At that point, then we go into this into the consultation to confirm you qualify and to get started. So, do F1 students who stopped going to school because they were rendered homeless by family, do we have any options at the moment? I would really like to talk to you because that's those circumstances sound like, it sounds like there's something more going on. If your family rendered you homeless, I'd want to understand what kind of mistreatment you experienced and how did you end up on the street? Because there are options that we work on when our clients have been victimized, exploited, abused. There may be options available, but we have to understand your facts. If you follow me, and you should follow me because that's where you will see the results and what the kind of cases that we work on. But you see that we have a very high approval rating for cases where our clients, many of them undocumented, have been victimized in similar situations like this. So I'd want to understand the facts. So go to the link in the profile if you want to schedule your own appointment, and you can go ahead and call, and then we will definitely get in touch with you and schedule the appointment. If you are from Jamaica and your case is already approved, is there an issue otherwise from waiting on the bond to left? So I'm not sure what that is. Now, if your case has already been approved and you have nothing else, so approval, let's talk about this. What does approval mean? You're outside of the US and you get approved for the I-130. Are you still subject to the ban? Yes, because what they're doing is they're not issuing immigrant visas. So that means that even though your I-130 has been approved, the I-130 petition, you would have to then go through an interview process to be issued an immigrant visa, and that's where they're pausing those. Now, if you already got your visa, your immigrant visa to travel into the United States, then you would not be so because you already have the immigrant visa. So this is for individuals who are now in line to get their immigrant visa. So it just depends on what kind of approval you're talking about. Keep in mind, this does not affect temporary visas, student visas, visitors visas, work visas like H-2Bs, H-1Bs. It does not affect it. What can happen if you don't send your medical? Your case may be rejected. So you want to make sure. So your case may be rejected, even denied. If it gets passed, because what they have to do when you send your packet with all the applications, they're going to then go ahead and make sure everything is required. They've already issued instructions to state that they will not accept adjustment of status applications without the sealed medical. So they have already stated that your case will be rejected. But say it gets past the mailroom and it is accepted, then the officer, upon reviewing it, will either issue a request for evidence or even a denial, because they have stated they're not going to be so kind about issuing requests for evidence anymore. What are the possibilities for an F1 student if the OPT isn't approved? You will have to talk to us because we have to understand what your circumstances are. Who are your relatives? What what degree did you graduate with? What career options do you have? Did an employer want to sponsor you? Do you have relatives here? Are you married to a U.S. citizen? So many. What are your circumstances? Right? Were you mistreated? Did you work under the table? Did an employer abuse you? Or exploit you? These questions that I'm asking you all lead to different kinds of options, but this is where we definitely would have to talk to you about it. When will asylum cases in 2025 have interviews? Interviews are coming hard and fast. We have filed asylum cases in late 2025, and we already have interviews coming up for asylum. So the newer cases that were filed are getting interviews very quickly. Um, Go ahead, put your questions in the comments. That's why I'm here. All right. I'm coming to you TikTok soon. I know you see me looking away, but I'm going from platform to platform to answer questions, and I'll be with you on TikTok very soon. Put your questions in the comments, and then I will answer. Um, Okay, so my T visa is from July 2024. Are you getting approvals around the state? So, unfortunately, what's happening is we are getting approvals at around the 22-month mark, as same as the processing times. So, we can now say processing times are almost 2 years right now. Hello, good night. Hi there, Demi. Nice to see you. I have I-360 SIJ approved and also a parole to 212D5A given by ICE. The parole says that works as replacement of I-94. Can I adjust status through marriage? Um, so if you were paroled, and it's not a conditional parole, then yes, it's possible. But we would have to right. So we would have to understand your circumstances. Keep in mind, um, I I don't want to just. I First of all, this is not personalized legal advice. Everything is general information. But when you are paroled into the country, and it's not conditional, then it's likely the kind of parole that you'd be able to use to file adjustment of status. But we really need to understand your full circumstances to be able to confirm. We work on these cases, so give us a call. Will the visa ban affect T visa applications and the beneficiaries outside of the US? Absolutely not. The T visa is a non-immigrant, so it is a temporary visa. So this does not lead to an immigrant visa. Are there any longer delays for getting biometrics appointments? So, well, I would say yes, because it is technically taking, it's just live right now. It's taking anywhere from 3 to 4 months just to get the receipt notices for some cases. And then after that, it's taking maybe another 2 to 3 months to get the biometrics. So, where the biometrics used to take about 2 months after filing, it's taking anywhere from 5 to 6 months to come through. Can an F1 student waiting for a green card or work authorization decision be considered illegal when they graduate? It's possible. Now, keep in mind, it depends. It's possible to become undocumented. If you filed, what happens is if you properly filed for a green card through adjustment of status, then it means that you're not undocumented, but you don't have status anymore, right? So you're in this gray area where If the green card gets denied, then you would be considered unlawfully present in the US. So, right now, with a work permit, it means you have authorization to be here and to work here, but it doesn't grant official status. All right, so now I'm on TikTok. Um, okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and answer. What happened if you did your immigrant visa interview long before the freeze, and they kept your passport? So it means that if they haven't officially given you the immigrant visa, and you did the interview, you didn't officially get your immigrant visa, and January 21st came, it means that you'd be subject to the ban still because you weren't issued. Unfortunately, you would be subject to that pause. Can I apply for H-1B and EB-2 NIW at the same time? Now, strategically, I would have to understand what your goals are, but yes, it's possible. The H-1B is a dual intent visa, meaning that they won't hold it against you if you have future intent to get the green card. So technically, it's possible to do both at the same time. But whether that's a good idea for you is really gonna depend. Um, it's over 6 months now, and I only received I-765 for receipt. I guess the receipt notice for I-765. What's next? So it depends on the case type. If it's the T visa, then it's to wait on a decision on the I-765, a bona fide determination letter, which offers protection while waiting for the T visa, or a decision on the T visa. Keep in mind the work permit for the T visa is discretionary, and it's really based the work getting the work permit is going to depend on whether you're issued the bona fide determination as well. And we're seeing those are coming in, but they're coming in very slowly. They're taking their time with it. With VAWA, I would say the I-765 receipt. If it's a VAWA, then I would say the work authorization is taking 6 to 12 months for that one. What if the spouse wants divorce right after getting the 2-year green card? Great question. If they want the divorce, uh, that's a tough situation, but it's time to protect yourself and your interests. So what you need to do is you need to make sure that you apply for a waiver to apply for the 10-year green card. And here's the deal, you can apply for that right now. You don't even have to wait for the 2-year green card to expire. Once you know that you are going to apply without the spouse to get the 10-year, to go from the 2-year to the 10-year, it means that you're going to submit a waiver based on the divorce and possibly based on mistreatment that then gives you the ability to apply anytime before the deadline to apply. So I would say it depends. My advice would really depend on what the circumstances are, but it's time to start looking at your options for sure and preparing for that. We work on cases like this. We've been successful with cases like this, so you can always give us a call and talk to us about it so we can provide you information. 2 years and 6 months since I filed VAWA, remarriage base. Do you think they can approve anytime soon? Right now, we're seeing 3 years, even over 3 years now to get the decision on VAWA. So it's unlikely that we would see an approval in 2 years and 6 months. But if there's a situation where you request an expedite, that may be a possibility. What is the average wait time for asylum interviews after doing the biometrics? So I would say we are getting them right now. It could be anywhere from a few months, so 2 months to 10 years. But what the pattern we're seeing now is they're doing them early. So the ones that applied most recently, those are coming first. They're prioritizing those. So if you recently filed the asylum, be prepared to get to that interview. And we have gotten asylum approved, yes, even under this administration. It is so important to make sure you are prepared, that you fully understand what you submitted, and that you can provide the credible information to the officers. The officers are going to dig in. They're going to ask a lot of details at that interview to test your credibility and to test whether this is a credible fear of persecution as defined under the law. So very important that you prepare, which we have done for our client and with much success. So just remember that interviews are coming hard and fast, especially if you applied recently. But even if you didn't apply recently, start making sure you're revisiting your application. You know exactly what's in there. You know exactly what's in your declaration, so that you can refresh your memory, so that you can go in there and of course get an attorney. Make sure you get an attorney so that you can increase your chances of success. Attorneys make a difference. They really do. And we are proving it. What is the average time for asylum interviews? I answered that. What can someone do if their passport is taken away from them, yet they wanted to adjust status? I would want to understand that. So, who took away the passport? In certain circumstances, if you have a relative or an employer who has taken away your passport, that could amount to something more and could possibly result in immigration relief. Situations where I've seen that happen is where an intimate partner wants to force their partner to stay with them and to stay with them and do things in their home, keep them locked away in their home. We have seen that, and we were able to get T status for oh, I can think of even one client right now who that happened to um her ex. So she was staying with her ex, just visiting, and they were friends. They shared a child together. They were just friends. But he then forced her to stay with him, forced her to work, forced her to do his household chores for him, and he took away her passport, so she could not leave. Our client got the T visa based on that, because that is called trafficking. Yes, even if you know the person. So talk to us, give us a call, talk to us. You can call the number 24/7, and you will provide your information, and then we are going to contact you ASAP to be able to evaluate your circumstances. How long after you file VAWA will you get a reply? I would say prepare for anywhere from 3 to 4 months. And some cases are taking even longer, but the average time is 3 to 4 months now to get the receipt notice. I'm at 103 days after marriage based interview. Is that normal? Actively being reviewed? Yes, that is also on the other spectrum. So they may be doing extra background checks. Right now, they're focused on a lot of fraud screening and vetting. So it can be something there as well. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you would be denied. It's definitely nerve wracking, but it is also a part of life right now. Okay, I went to review embassy, kept her passport a week ago. She go to interview next week. Any idea? I'm not sure. So usually they take the passport to put the visa in there. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happened there. Thank you for sharing the live. Thank you for the love. I really appreciate it on TikTok. And when you are tapping that screen, it also means other people are seeing information that can empower them in their immigration journey. So I appreciate that too, because more now than ever, people need information and they need to know how to go about things. They need to understand what to expect. And that's the kind of information that I do provide here. Okay, does she respond on YouTube questions? Absolutely. So put your questions in the comments. I am going to try to just grab a few more questions and then I'm going to head out. What I say is I come on here to do lives, but some days are very busy. Nowadays, it's very busy as we just constantly are keeping up on immigration policies and making sure that our clients' cases are solid. But what you can do is follow me, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. So as soon as I come on, you can know and join me and ask your questions. In the meantime, you can always give us a call, schedule time to talk. You can even do it yourself by going to the link in the profile. When you click on that link, it will then do an initial evaluation. And that evaluation, by the way, is confidential. And what it does is it allows you to determine whether there's something we can help you with, but also helps us to determine that. So we don't waste your time and money going forward. And then you can schedule the strategy session with one of our attorneys there. All right. So let's see. Got my conditional green card through my husband. Can I apply for I-751 removal of condition within months before the due date? Going through divorce, but want to waive because of battery. Absolutely. This is a great question, and this is the exact type of case that we work with. Absolutely. Once you are applying for a waiver to apply for the 10-year green card on your own, it means that you can now apply at any time before the due date. So you don't have to submit this waiver within the 90 days. You can actually apply before. And here's a little advantage with that. So we've done it with our client. Our clients went through that exact same thing, and we applied for her about a year and a half before her green card expired. Her 2-year green card expired. We applied a year and a half. And you know what happened? Because of that, right on around the time that her 2-year green card expired, she got her 10-year. So it basically gave my client a head start in the process, because the process is usually 4 years right now. It's a 4-year process. It can go that long. And so by applying way before, she gave herself a head start, right? So that's also an advantage with this, is that you can give yourself a head start to get that green card a tad bit earlier than the usual timeline. Are they gonna see if I overstay in other countries? So um, usually they're not too concerned about. So in all the questions that they ask, they're very much concerned about the U.S. Um, they are not, unless you've been convicted or it turned into a criminal charge in another country. They're not too concerned about whether you overstayed in another country. Absolutely. We're looking forward to working with you. That's exactly what we do. All right, everybody. Thanks again for your time. It's so nice to see you. And I am going to work on coming back more often. But in the meantime, I am releasing a ton of videos, news reports, because there's a lot going on. So there is still information that can be helpful. And guess what? Even if um, you know, you don't see me on a regular basis, you can always call the office, schedule time to talk to one of the attorneys, or in order to get started, because we're really in the weeds. That's where I am right now. That's where I'm putting a lot of my energy, is working on protecting our clients, fighting for our clients to ensure their success here in the United States. So that's really, while it's good to give you information, we are on the ground working to make sure that our clients are safe, that we can secure the papers and protection that our clients need to thrive here. So give us a call. Let's talk about potential options that you have. All right. Have a good night. I'll see you again soon. Just make sure you like, follow, subscribe. So as soon as I come back on, you can join me and ask questions as well. All right. Bye bye.